So one of the last things you were left with was finding the visions of the different students that were going to be in your school?
Yeah.
And that was one of the things that you were going to work on. How are you going to do that? Like, what's your plan?
Personally, if you read our profiles right from the start, we are teachers by profession. And the strategy that we had discussed amongst ourselves is school resumes on Monday. That is 29th.
School resumes on the 29th?
Yeah, Gregorian calendar.
Okay.
And our strategy is identify prospective students that could be in our school, and then share with them about the kind of school we want to create, and ask them specifically how they would like to create a world they desire, what is in their dreams. As these students share with us their dreams, one of the things that we shall be doing is write down the student's name, probably a small profile about this student and what kind of world they want to create. And probably we can take it an extra step and ask them, according to them, how do they think that world can be created?
So are you currently now in the regular school system as teachers?
Yeah.
Okay, and so so the school you want to create is just very different from the school that you're currently teaching in right now?
Exactly.
Okay, do they know that you're wanting to create a new school?
Yeah.
They do?
Yeah.
Okay. So what's going to be the difference between the school system you're teaching in now versus the school system you want to create?
Of course, there are several differences, several of them. One is we desire to create a school where kids or students can choose what they want to study, for example. Because in the current system, the students, the curriculum is pre-designed for them. The kind of school we envision is where we work with the students, with the parents and teachers to create a curriculum that suits the situation on ground, for example. Two, we want to push for passions and talents. I don't know if you understand that. Instead of having something that is theoretical, you identify somebody's talent and then you help them to develop that talent.
Right.
Something that is hands-on instead of looking at the theory.
Right.
Then three is looking at what you can call integration of learning. Integration of learning, how do you bring in different aspects? How do you bring in different disciplines together to create the world that you desire? Another one which comes into my mind as in what makes our system different from the existing system is we want to go relief from what is taking place in the community and then bring it into the school setting so that this school itself is a community. So we have, let's say, people who are passionate about cooking, students are passionate about cooking, they are trained in cooking. Students who are passionate about building, trained in building. Students who are passionate about leading, they are trained in leadership.
So what kind of response do you get from the administration or the other teachers when you speak about such things?
What response do we get when we share with the teacher? Personally, maybe let me first give some other person an opportunity to talk.
Yeah, really, Elijah, when we talk to people, the parents, the children, and the teachers, as administrators, we get feedback that this would be one of the best systems the country will achieve. if what we are saying is practically put on ground. Because we have explained using your guidance and what we had conceived before. So they feel they have understood, and we feel that we, the administrators, we are already in a line to do what we have already put on paper. So we feel they are welcoming and they feel positive. So we feel positive that we are going to impart this type of education within these children.
When would be your, I guess, realistic idea of opening the school?
I beg your pardon?
Oh, when would you like to open the new school? Like, what's your timing? What do you think is possible?
Of course, at the moment, our school system operates as per the Gregorian calendar. It opens at the beginning of the year, and in most cases, it closes at the year ends. Looking at what is available on the ground practically right now, the possibilities, what is most possible at the moment is we are most likely to open in 2019. That is 1 year from now.
Right.
Yeah.
So everything has to be put in place this year, and then be pretty solid in order to get people in there, right? I guess it's quite a, you have to make sure that the foundation is solid, I guess, to open the doors, so to speak, right?
Yeah, I mean, when we look at this map that we've just drawn at the moment, we can start with our research. We can do our research, you can do the paperwork, we can do the registration and everything. And then we move on, we proceed to infrastructure. For example, we can start setting up classrooms, we start setting up dormitories and other places that the students will be using. And then we move around as per our map requires.
So how do you, I'd like some feedback in terms of what you see. Have you ever seen an organizational chart like this? Probably not.
No.
So how different is it? Like just
This organization.
Yeah, how different is it? What makes it unique?
I
I guess that's a bit of a silly question, but
No, it's not a silly question.
It is an interesting question. To me, actually, allow me use time and space in my definition of this. That this circular system, value system, is infinite. Compared to what we have in our systems are horizontal, sometimes linear, or they are vertical. This is circular, and so it is continuous. It is in infinite form compared to our systems that are vertical, sometimes horizontal, that don't bring yield as I see this. So this is unique, very different, but very interesting.
Probably to add on that, if I can borrow a leaf from what we're using at school at the moment. This is, to me, it is more all-inclusive. That is one. Number two, it shows the element of continuity. As in, you can have several activities well grouped together, and then implementation of them becomes interesting. It is fun to play around with it.
well, and this is like the foundation, and so there's other, like there's card sets, game boards, maps, processes, and software. And so there's a company right now in Germany that I'm working with to make a value system app. So kind of take what you did and make it software. And so you can kind of like bring up your map and create it through an app. So that could get literally maybe hundreds of thousands or millions of people starting to think this way or use this type of idea. And as I think I told you, you're the first school in the whole world. I had to go outside of Canada because I don't know, maybe they just think I'm crazy, but it's amazing how if you present something new, it just can people don't even know what you're talking about. And I'm very appreciative that you're giving me this time and thinking of using this for your school.
Okay, thank you. It's our pleasure.
So what I think I'll start to do is I'll make this map for you and make it all nice. And then I'll start to look at the card sets, because there's sort of like, once you get the card sets, you'll have something physical to show to people, because like the synergy wheel, all of those words like research, infrastructure, and learning, all those come in a card set. And so then you get a values card set. And so what I just did with you could do with other organizations. So you could go to all your allies or all the people and go, well, we want to integrate our values. Here's our value system. We can take you through a process and do the same thing. Did we freeze? Did you get what I just said?
Okay. Yeah.
So,
actually, it's unstable.
Did we miss a bit of that?
Yeah, I think we got disconnected.
Okay. So what I was saying was, the process that you just went through was pretty easy, right?
Yeah.
And you could take other people, other organizations through the same process. So part of with your allies and people, like this can be done with an individual. Each of you can do your own value system. And then as opposed to the research and infrastructure words, you use fields, resources, jobs, activities, products, relationships, paths, strategies. So each of you can make an individual value system on your own, and that becomes your own personal learning template. And then you're all sharing the organizational value system. So what it does is it gives you a way to custom design your own personal value system, and for your students and for anybody. And that's their learning template. It's like, it creates a very creative way to have a universal structure that you all share, but then you change the values. So if you have integrity at stewardship and you have passion at stewardship, you're both going to approach life differently.
Okay.
So it's giving people the choice of the values they want, but there's also a unity for putting the values in a system that we're all sharing. And the words like activities, relationships, these are very universal words. All the words that were chosen can kind of be applied to any sort of business situation. And the idea is it's a business thinking system, because the world is run by business, but we need to bring in a new ethical system, and that's the connection to the values.
All right. Nice.
So what I'm hoping is, like, the toolkit is called the New Paradigm Toolkit. So it's helping people go from the old paradigm to the new paradigm. So the old paradigm is based upon fear, and the new paradigm is based upon love. And so we love what we value what we love. And this is just one of the processes within this idea to help people to better understand themselves.
Okay.
So, do you have any questions?
Do you have
any questions?
Everything you read the one we have the answer.
My personal question at the moment is, of course, you promised that you are making for us a map encompassing these values. What I would seek from you is guidance, especially like when it comes to implementation or use of this map. For example, if you look at number one, that is research, and we have responsibility as a value there. How do we start applying it in a real life situation at the moment?
Right. Well, it may be you start looking at, you know, who and what are you responsible to, you know, for. You may be, you know, you're responsible for the highest standards of education. So you start to research all the other standards of education on the planet and figure out what they have. You're responsible for your students, you know, being able to interact with the real world. And so if you want to bring, you know, you might have to research all the schools where you choose your own curriculum, because you got to figure out how to design a curriculum where the students choose the curriculum, because you're going to have offline teachers and you may bring in online teachers. You may, you know, there may be a whole bunch of teachers in Canada that I can help you get access to through the internet. And then your responsibility is kind of like, well, which ones you want to choose, which ones are in alignment with your values. You might, you know, in your research, you might be responsible to Mother Earth, and you're looking at, you know, all of the practices, like you have sustainability at 5. So the values interact with one another. So you're, you know, I guess the big question is, you know, who and what are you responsible for, and how does that impact what you're going to research?
Oh, okay.
You know, when you, it's sort of like what you have to do now is you have to flush out what that value means at that place. Like if you have spirituality at services and path, you're, you know, there's a lot of different spiritualities. You know, to me, the values are the basis for any spiritual path, but that's a pretty big thing, because what is each student's spirituality, and what are all the different types of spiritualities? Usually that can lead to war, but hopefully you can figure out, if you're responsible in your research, you might find out a way to bring a unit of spirituality that doesn't create any conflict, but creates more love. You know, it's like the respect at stewardship, you know, how, you know, maybe a set of communication protocols that, you know, you treat each other with respect. You know, there's no insulting, there's no, you know, if you have conflict, you have to deal with it in a respectful manner. You know, it sort of sets up the communication protocols for the school. Like every school in some way has rules and a lot of values. You know, if you have the value integrity, the rule may be, I keep my word. So within the people that you're going to flush this out with, like teamwork at synergy, what does teamwork at synergy mean? Well, you know, it means that we all act as a team when we're coming up with the new rules. We all act as a team when we're, you know, bringing the kids together as teachers. You know, maybe you bring 3 classes together as opposed to just have 1 class, and you all act as a team. So it's more up to each of you to find out and realize, what does that value mean to you at that place? Because like I've had cooperation at research, and a lot of times you find out about the value by the opposite. So I may value cooperation at research, but I'm working with someone who doesn't want to share their knowledge. It just isn't going to work with the people you choose. So the people that you are going to bring into your school, you start with the values, and you need to have like large discussions with your team about what do these mean and how you're going to implement them, and how you're going to maybe assess whether it's occurring or not. So I think for like this whole year, as you're building up towards opening in 2019, it's a constant kind of diving into the philosophy for the school that you're going to create. Like, I mean, you've already chosen, you know, to name the school after a man that did something which nobody did. You know, what did he do? What values did he have? And how did he implement them within a whole country? And it sounds as if you guys are using him as a model. because he was such a leader for doing, you know, peaceful things.
Yeah.
And you, I mean, one that you got freedom at conversation and communication, which means, you know, you may have to respect the freedom of the child who says, I don't want to learn any of this, and I'm just going over there and I'm going to go do whatever I want to do. And then you have to decide, like, well, in which situation does this take place? I mean, it's what I find with this is it's a very powerful, energetic attractor. It's like, as you realize these values more and more, it's going to create an energetic field that's going to attract everything that you need. I mean, look already of attracting, you know, it seemed, I don't know what the relationship was for you to go through the process of choosing those values you did, but then this man arrived that offered you, you know, tuition for 100 students. Like, I've seen it over and over again, that there's like a magic. It's like we're telling the universe, or we're telling spirit, we're telling, you know, whatever is this higher intelligence that we're within, this is what we want. And every spiritual tradition out there, you know, respect, the responsibility, trust, you know, every spiritual tradition has values as the basis of it in some way. And so as a school, you know, for you to have that at the core, what you are and who you are, to me, it sets a really good direction for where you want to go, and it's going to be the reference point for other people trusting you.
Okay. Okay. That's good.
But I'll tell you, I would say it's a difficult journey, but it's a worthy journey.
Okay.
So, any other questions?
Yeah.
No. Do you have any questions?
Do I have any questions?
Yeah.
I had sent you, I invited you through the Google Docs. Like, I put your document up there in Google Docs, and I invited you through email. Did you, I don't know if you got that.
Yeah, I got it.
Did you say yes?
Yes.
Oh, you're in there?
Yeah, we got the document.
Okay. So that we should look at that document, and I'll add this values map, and then we can start to add in the written support for the values map within the document.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm getting your point, as in we fit the information in the document to reflect our values, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So do you think that's a good place to stop? Like, is that enough info, or can you hear me?
Let's say that one more time.
I was just thinking,
Say that one more time, please.
Is this a good place to stop? Like, I'm always afraid of too much information, or overloading, or overwhelming, and did you hear me? Are we cutting out?
I think the network is not.
It's choppy. Okay, I was just wondering if this is a good place to stop, like, to do you feel complete? Do you feel like we've come to a place of ending for this session?
Yeah, I mean, as far as the session is concerned, it's a great start. We're making great progress to us, and one of the things that we're looking at is how do we start using these values in our real life situations, and then how can we, for example, if we use a workplace as a place for demonstration of these values, how can we use some of these values at different levels to, for example, create a transformation at our workplace at the moment, even when we don't yet have something of our own, but how can we use this way to make adjustments in already existing system?
Well, I think one thing I did quite a while ago was I took each value and I made levels. I think I even had 9 levels, because like trust is a very, wide, broad word. Like the Eskimos have a word for friend, and they say, I like you, but I don't want to go fishing with you.
Okay.
And that's a type of friend, so it's kind of like, hey, I'll hang out, have a coffee and have a chat, but when I got to go do some important work, I don't want you around. So that's a different level of trust. So I think that for like its sustainability and teamwork and passion, like I may be very passionate for one day in a week, but 6 days a week I'm not. So your passion may be a little low. So I think within the school you might create standards of different levels, and then we can flush out, what that means. I think whatever this is, it's a big learning process, because as I said, I have a few people who've been playing with this idea, but I don't have an organization of like a school that has actually been putting it into practice. And even though I've been working on this idea for 25 years, you may think, well, why don't you get some more people in? Again, it's like new ideas have a hard time finding a place. So we've got to do a lot of learning together on how to do this.
All right. That's very fine. And one thing we can promise you is we are very committed, very passionate group, and we can promise to keep you updated on the development as far as this project is concerned.
Well, and I hope that, again, within every 2 or 3 weeks, we check back in and I'll give you another piece. And we can always have, a lot of, online conversation in Facebook. I'm generally there. So if you have questions and things, as you see, I do try to answer them. So I think it's just one step at a time.
Yeah, one step at a time.
But you have my commitment on my end to assist. And I think that's all we need, really, is if both sides are committed and they keep a good sense of humor. And I think next time, if I wake up on time and perhaps we get some better lighting, because I think you may see this video and go, where did I go?
Okay, thank you so much for today, Mr. Elijah.
Yes, it's been a pleasure.
Yes, very inspiring, very educative, very stimulating to the mind. So many questions to ask, especially as per our system. And it is time to test your theories. Let's put your theories to work here in Africa.
Okay, so I'll say goodbye to you all.
Oh, bye-bye, Elijah.
And I very
Thank you for everything.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Thank you, Elijah. And I think the two paradigm from fear to love is one thing I've quoted very important to me this evening from your words. And as you have said, as we are in this transition, we are going to borrow these ideas into the place where we are now and begin operating these same ideas within the system where we are. And then as we are giving feedback, we shall be letting you know how we are moving. But thank you, it has been grateful.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, guys.